Welcome! In this Lightroom quick edit, I'm gonna take this raw file and I'm gonna turn it into a photo like this. So let's not waste any time and get started with editing. Just bringing down the highlights, beautiful structure in the sky. Just bringing up the clarity a little bit. Bring down the blacks and maybe even bring up the overall exposure just a little bit. Bring up the whites, of course, make sure there's nothing clipped, and bring the contrast a little bit to the right as well. Color temperature itself, I think the color temperature really is fine how it was, so nothing we have to change there. And lastly, in the basics adjustment, the vibrance, I think the picture is already pretty vibrant, so maybe just add a little bit, like +10. Tonal curve, just gonna bring up the highlights a little bit, play around with the rest as usual. Maybe bring down the darks a little bit and the shadows, bring them up a little bit. Go straight away down to the effects tool and just add a little bit of vignetting. I really think that works very well for this photo. Bring the midpoint even more towards the center of the picture. And I wanted to try out the split toning. I'm really not sure if I want to add any color in the split toning tool here, but might as well just see if there's anything I like. Maybe a little bit of orange. Let's just see the other colors. Yeah, I think this will be definitely, if I want to add anything, then it will be a little bit of orange. And I actually think it works just a little bit, around 11%. Looks a little bit better than without anything. And then I definitely want to grab a graduated filter here and add a lot of custom vignetting in addition to the global vignetting, and just bring down the exposure for the bottom portion of this picture right here by quite a lot. Maybe even grab another one just for the very bottom and even go further with the minus exposure. Let's just see here and fine tune that. That looks pretty good. Grab another one and also close out the picture for the top and bring, of course, down the exposure and maybe even angle it a little bit so we have the right part a little bit darker than the left. And speaking of being the left part a little bit brighter than the right, I want to exaggerate this lighting scheme on the scene right here. So I'm gonna grab a graduated filter for pretty much the entire left part of this photo and just bring up the exposure a little bit, maybe even increase the contrast for the clouds, and grab another graduated filter for the left part and just go down with the exposure here. Here is before any graduated filters, here is after. Just makes everything a little bit more interesting, but I think I may have gone a little bit too far with this one right here. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna fine tune that once again, and I really think that looks pretty good. Then radial filters, let's add some dodge and burning. Definitely think it could be very useful in this photo. First of all, gonna start with negative exposure and just kind of make the darker areas a little bit more prominently dark. Duplicate. Really want to go pretty quick for this 5-minute quick edit. Maybe add some more contrast in this hill. Right click duplicate, kind of change the size, make it a little bit smaller, and just drag it over this part. Right click duplicate, and maybe for this cliff right here, then I'm gonna grab another one and this time go into plus exposure and just kind of add some more interest to the whole scene. Right click duplicate here as well. Of course, adjust the exposure as always, and maybe go a little bit plus exposure over here. Maybe a little bit of a bigger filter right there. Even go a little bit more into the plus exposure to really exaggerate the look. Right click duplicate again, and I think, yeah, maybe another big one over here and a very big one that kind of overlaps the smaller ones just to make this whole hill part a little bit brighter. So I think that looks pretty good, but actually a last thing that I think really could work for this photo is the HSL tool. Usually it really doesn't have that big of an impact, but I really just want to change the look of this grass a little bit, as well as fine-tune the blue hue in the sky and make it a little bit darker. So I think that works pretty well. When I look at it, I might have done a little bit too much plus exposure for this specific filter right here. And at the end, I think I'm done here for this picture. Here is before and here is after. Definitely looks a lot more interesting and a lot more vibrant. Thank you as always very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.